Welcome to Literary and Jury Charge Practice. Let's start out with some literary material. And this is called Practice with a Purpose. Ready? Here we go. The pressure from passing a speed and then moving to a new speed that is now more difficult can take its toll on a student's motivation. It's helpful in those cases to have students chart their progress over time, which many court reporting programs do. While this is useful for short time projects like getting up to the next speed bump, it can also help students reflect on how far they have come since they started the program. Taking some time to recognize how far a student has already come can help create new motivation to face the next step. Remember, it is not about passing and failing a test. It is always about improving your skill and learning from the experience, says Morton. Practice with the intent to master the game of steno shorthand, says Michelle Roberts, CRI, who works with Gadsden State Community College in Gadsden, Alabama. She offers the 3 P's of practice, practice, patience, and perseverance. You play like you practice is what I tell my students, says Aurora Jocelyn, an instructor with Sheridan Technical College in Hollywood, Florida. If you want to perform strongly in an area from steno to business, you can't slack off in your practice because what you do most of the time is what you get used to. I just tell it to my students in plain terms. The more they practice, the easier it will get, says Melissa J. Blake, CRICPE, an instructor at Alfred State University in Alfred, New York. It's just like typing your name on the computer keyboard. You've done it so many times that you don't even have to think about it when you do it. That's how it is with steno. The more you practice, the more automatic it will become, and the easier it will be for your fingers to find the right keys. But balancing practice with rest is also important, Blake notes. I also tell my students that there's balance in how much to practice. My church organist was my mentor when I was a student. She used to tell me that my brain needed some time off and that my brain was still processing what I was learning even when I wasn't practicing. Final words of advice. Motivation, planning practice sessions, and plotting individual progress are important, but there are many things that go into helping a court reporting student become a success that are not covered here. What works for one court reporting student may not work for another, or even for the same student at a different time in his or her schooling. Robin M. Hennigan, RPR, CRI, of Clark State Community College in Springfield, Ohio, quotes football player Ralph Marston to her students, "Excellence is not a skill, it is an attitude." She continues, "Therefore, your attitude toward your own excellence will determine how you build your skill. Success is your choice." Right, now let's try some jury charge practice. Ready? Here we go. Do not conduct any tests or experiments or visit the scene of any event involved in this case. If you happen to pass by the scene, do not stop or investigate. You have been given notebooks and may have taken notes during the trial. You may use your notes during deliberations. Your notes are for your own individual use to help you remember what happened during the trial. Please keep in mind that your notes may be inaccurate or incomplete. If there's a disagreement about the testimony at trial, you may ask that the court reporter's record be read to you. It is the record that must guide your deliberations, not your notes. You must accept the court reporter's record as accurate. Please do not remove your notes from the jury room. At the end of the trial, your notes will be collected and destroyed. The fact that a criminal charge has been filed against the defendant is not evidence that the charge is true. You must not be biased against the defendant just because he has been arrested, charged with a crime, or brought to trial. A defendant in a criminal case is presumed to be innocent. This presumption requires that the people prove a defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Whenever I tell you the people must prove something, I mean they must prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is proof that leaves you with an abiding conviction that the charge is true. The evidence need not eliminate all possible doubt, because everything in life is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. In deciding whether the people have proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt, you must impartially compare and consider all the evidence that was received throughout the entire trial. Unless the evidence proves the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, he is entitled to an acquittal, and you must find him not guilty. Evidence is the sworn testimony of witnesses, the exhibits admitted into evidence, and anything else I told you to consider as evidence. Nothing that the attorneys say is evidence. In their opening statements and closing arguments, the attorneys discussed the case, but their remarks are not evidence. Their questions are not evidence. Only the witnesses' answers are evidence. The attorney's questions are significant only if they help you to understand the witnesses' answers. Do not assume that something is true just because one of the attorneys asked a question that suggested it was true. During the trial, the attorneys may have objected to questions or moved to strike answers given by the witnesses. I ruled on the objections according to the law. If I sustained an objection, you must ignore the question. If the witness was not permitted to answer, do not guess what the answer might have been or why I ruled as I did. If I ordered testimony stricken from the record, you must disregard it and must not consider that testimony for any purpose. You must disregard anything you saw or heard when the court was not in session, even if it was done or said by one of the parties or witnesses. During the trial, you were told that the people and the defense agreed or stipulated to certain facts. This means that they both accept those facts as true. Because there is no dispute about those facts, you must also accept them. The court reporter has made a record of everything that was said during the trial. If you decide that it is necessary, you may ask that the court reporter's record be read to you. You must accept the court reporter's record as accurate. All right, we'll get back to that jury charge. Now let's try some more literary practice. This is called A Good Start. Ready? Here we go. Ask any working court reporter or current court reporting student, and they'll agree that completing court reporting school takes dedication, determination, focus, and lots of support from family, friends, and mentors. It is a tough road indeed, and many find that completing a court reporting program within 2 years is often one of their greatest challenges. At Clark State Community College in Springfield, Ohio, however, Cassandra Hall and Heather Piper have successfully completed the required coursework in the court reporting program in under 2 years. The two women have very different stories about how they chose court reporting as a career and what keeps them focused on the end goal. According to Robin M. Hennigan, RPR CRI Assistant Professor and Program Coordinator of the Court Reporting Program at Clark State, Hall and Piper have proven to be outstanding students and excellent examples of what it takes to succeed. Cassandra is a phenomenal student who is hardworking and dedicated to her studies. She balances being a single mother with being a full-time, real-time court reporting student, said Hennigan, who has been a full-time instructor for 13 years. Heather is also an outstanding student, completing required work early or on time, and she is always looking for ways to improve. She has juggled employment along with being a full-time student to accomplish her goal of becoming a court reporter. Both Hall and Piper shared the following insights into what it has taken each of them to successfully complete their education, as well as where they plan to take their careers when they officially enter the workforce. Read their profiles below. Cassandra Hall, Xenia, Ohio. What attracted you to the court reporting profession? It was actually my mother who introduced me to court reporting. She works at Clark State and thought it would be something I could do well and enjoy. She tried to interest me in the program several years back, but the timing wasn't right. Once my son was born in 2013, I decided it was time for me to get my act together and start the program. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. Once I began to understand more about the profession, I was hooked. The more I learn, the more I love what I'm training to do. This is a career that puts me completely in control of my future and my success, and I plan to take full advantage of it. How long did you anticipate it would take you to finish the program and graduate? It was always my goal to stay on track with the number of courses the program recommended for each term in order to finish in roughly 2 years. I was very fortunate that I didn't have to juggle a job and school at the same time while raising my son as a single parent. My parents were incredibly supportive of my decision to start this program. They really bent over backwards to give me any help I needed with my son until I was able to arrange part-time daycare. That allowed me to take the required number of courses each term in order to stay on track with the projected completion of the program. All right, let's see what else we have. This article is called, "What is CART?" Perhaps you've heard of CART captioning, but you don't really understand what it is. You are not alone. I once had a prospective client call me wondering how much room the CART took up. That brought a smile to my face because I am the CART. She thought I would wheel in a device on a cart that would magically provide instant speech-to-text service. That day has not yet arrived, despite much progress in voice recognition. In order to produce accurate speech-to-text of multiple speakers at high speeds, it takes a person, a CART captioner. CART, Communication Access Real-Time Translation, is real-time speech-to-text provided by a CART captioner, stenographer, using a stenograph machine, computer, and special software. Like a court reporter, a CART captioner can write at high speeds, capturing what people say and turning it into instant text via special software. One way I like to contrast court reporting from CART captioning is by explaining that while court reporters write verbatim, they do not have to be 100% accurate because they have the opportunity to edit and correct their transcripts. CART captioners, in contrast, do not need to write 100% verbatim, but what we write must be highly accurate and accurately reflect what is being said, no matter how arcane the language, thick the accent, or foreign the name. CART captioners use much of the same equipment as court reporters, including similar software. However, we must define our writing and our dictionaries, computer files that translate steno outlines into English words and phrases, as well as computer macros, in order to meet the demands of having to accurately reflect unexpected names, terms, formulas, and environmental sounds. CART captioners develop special skills in order to meet this challenge. Like sign language interpreters, we fingerspell using specially developed steno outlines that are defined as letters that abut one another in order to build an unusual word or name letter by letter. Because we are acting as ears for our clients, hearing and writing what they are unable to hear, we must be able to accurately indicate whatever environmental sounds occur, such as a telephone ringing, siren sounding, or dog barking. Unlike court reporters who are limited to reporting only what is on the record, CART captioners must write whatever is said within the hearing range of the CART consumer. right, and that will conclude our literary and jury charge practice.